Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I send my thanks out to Book of Al-Faranomy right now and to Steph is Cold for two things that they've said. If we go back, you will see that number one, Book of Al-Faranomy put out a video. She says, don't add yourself to the long list of simps. I think you put that out same day that I'm recording this. Well, the day before you'll see the upload. In that one, he plays a clip of a nice looking lady, she's cute, sitting up and telling you, ranting, telling you she's tired of you men approaching her. Don't say nothing to her. She likes the compliments, but really, you know what? She really doesn't want you stepping up and approaching her. Now, of course, as Book of Al-Faranomy points out, Rebecca Lynn Pope was glad when she got approached and she got to flash her wedding ring. Look at the age difference. See, Rebecca Lynn Pope is more my type because, as I've stated, I actually prefer women my age, maybe a year older, but I prefer women closer to my age when they're well kept, and that's largely, but see, that's one of the reasons why my specialty would be a widow. In many cases, if I had not met my current wife, my specialty would have been a widow. My last ex was a widow. The reason is because, of course, I need some wisdom and some maturity as well. As you all can hear, my brain sometimes runs, I wouldn't say as fast as Edward Allen Anderson's brain does, but my brain's pretty much always on. There are times I have trouble sleeping only because I can't shut my brain down. That happens sometimes. And so that being said, I do need that. I need someone that is mature. I need someone that's not ditzy. I don't need to repeat everything I say 2 times. But the funny thing is, see, Book of Al-Faranomy pointed out something. When they have a single track mind, when they're hanging out with their friends and focusing on something else, they really don't want you bothering them. They want the attention, but not really you bothering them. Now, the thing is, when they want to be approached, they still really want to turn someone down. And I give a shout out to Steph is Cold, because in his video from 4 days ago, which will be 5 days ago at the time you see the upload, that's exactly what he explains too. He says why men are no longer approaching. That's the title of his video, why men are no longer approaching women. And in that video, he says it. It's not really it's not really that they don't want to date. They really are only upset about not being approached because they're upset that they don't get to turn someone down for their ego boost. It's funny because their ego is more dependent upon them declining than it is upon them saying, you know what, I'm free this weekend. That's the funny thing, isn't it? Doesn't that mess things up? Isn't that ucked up, so to speak, that this is what their ego depends on? Until, of course, they come across a man that's just so tall and wealthy and muscular that their friends would ridicule them for declining him. Look, gentlemen, when I said decades ago, don't validate them, don't approach, don't chase them, don't pursue them, I was met with ridicule, and I don't care that my peers were in their teens and, too young to know. I really don't fib a guck. Because you know how niggas are. You tell them something and they cut you off halfway through. Arabs are the same way. Uneducated white folk tend to do the same thing. People in general tend to do that. And this is why I'm so mean with them, oftentimes. Stop interrupting. Pay attention. Because I'm going to do the same thing for you. I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to pay attention to you. conversation. I'm going to avoid interrupting you unless there's an emergency, like a car is speeding towards you down the street and it's up on the sidewalk where we're talking and your back is turned, you don't see it. That would be an emergency. Or I just need you to repeat something to make sure I heard you clearly. Maybe a car engine came by and drowned out the sound. I need you to repeat that sentence. Things like that. I may interrupt only for those reasons, but just because I disagree, no, I wouldn't do that. Because if I hear you out, we're probably going to agree on a lot more than what we disagree on. Usually, the same way that arguments start because people can't fuck the shuck up and hear each other out and take turns talking, they tend to end when they start to take turns talking and hearing each other out. Now, I mention this largely because these were teens. And there are times now when I say this, the same thing, and there's always some man that comes along and says, well, you know, we men in biology, and the thing is that I might actually get to finish my point, but they don't actually finish thinking about it. Look at the evidence. The men are becoming aware, and you've got teenage boys who are red-pilled and talking about MGTOW. Now, if teenage boys can do this, and men in their early 20s can do this, then the rest of us certainly can. It's working for them. I'm not saying that I want you to go and buy toys or dolls. I don't. I'm just telling you that actually going and approaching and pursuing and validating them is actually far worse. It really has gotten to that point because you can see what the results are. The reason why Brittany Renner feels completely comfortable doing what she's done and saying what she is now saying is because there was always biology and ninjas that think they can't stop, so they don't stop, so they take whatever you give them because they really think they have to. This type of thinking is exactly why it was that she was able to find the victim in PJ Washington that she wanted in the first Furthermucking place. Gentlemen, if you look hard enough, you will find reasons to eliminate darn near anybody. Look anyway, because that's what they're doing to you. They're looking for reasons to eliminate you. Hell, half the time, you might even be what they want on paper or what their friends want, and they still individually are going to mistreat you and underappreciate you. PJ Washington, tall, talented, athletic, and now paid, and she still did this. He can't keep her. And see, she's not really aware of the red pill, I can tell. Should he have known better? I would say probably so, probably. But the fact is, these broads have gotten so Furthermucking far out of line that these are the best options available even to Steph Curry, even to PJ Washington, even to Dwayne Wade. And look what he has to be to stick with Gabrielle Union, who's older than him. That would be fine for me. Organically, that would be okay for me. But for most of you, that's not what you're looking for. And yet, and still, even they don't have options. So what hope do the rest of us have? And see, the only thing that's gonna stop this problem, and I don't really care if it teaches these ladies a lesson or not, and it's not going to because they can't learn. Look at Brittany Renner. They can't learn, and she's gonna do the same thing to her son. And when she does the same thing to her son, she still won't be able to learn until he's old. He's cut off contact with her because he sees how up she was. He cool with PJ Washington. God willing, they get that relationship restored at some point. But when he's old, when he's an adult and he's doing well and he tight with his dad and he done cut off Brittany and she ain't get no child support money, no nothing, and she ain't nothing but an old used up thought. She's what, 32 now? She gonna be 50 by that point, and she ain't nothing but that. And at that point, she probably ain't even gonna be considered black anymore, the way things are going, because I see how the reorganization and the recategorization is coming about. So at that point, she probably ain't gonna be considered black no more, and ain't no black woman gonna wanna be around her, at least not no proud ones. And then she might learn her lesson. We don't fib a guck, that's too late. So the only thing that's gonna stop this is when men quit giving them the options. That's it. Nothing else is gonna put an end to this. And again, I'm not saying this because I want them to come back to the table. That would be nice for your sake. I'm straight. That would be nice for your sake, gentlemen, but I don't hold out hope for that. I'm a pessimist because my pessimism usually turns out to be correct. But it's going to put a stop at least to our young boys, i.e. PJ Washington's son, and boys 10 years older than him, having to inherit the same environment and the same outcomes we inherited from these old fools in our community, the men and the women alike. And old fools in the community were a disgrace to the actual wise men, the elders, who really meant better for us, but who themselves didn't know enough about this because they didn't have the benefit of the internet and so let alone social media when they were coming up. I don't blame them for what they just could not know, but even in their cases when they at least tried to say this stuff is a mess, we got to do better, and they didn't get listened to because the old fool was sitting up there like, man, don't listen to him, man. You know biology, your thing get hard. You need to let that stuff out, man. So don't never turn none down. You take what you can get. And what does that lead to? Look at what they refuse to be. Look how decent, forget how excellent, look how decent they refuse to be because because there's always enough guys willing to tell me at my age what the younger men are wise enough to know does not have to be true. Thank God for the wisdom he is giving the youth in this case that we elders refuse to take on because it sounded stupid to us. Because it involves self-discipline and self-denial that they wound up forcing most of us to go ahead and practice anyway if we wanted to make something of our lives. Think about that, gentlemen. And right now, we got Book of Alpharonomy telling you, stop validating her. 5, you have an 8 to 5% chance of closing a deal. That's not acceptable in anything else. Sounds to me like he and I listen to the same information. You got to approach 100 to get results from 5. That's why it is that Julie Jules is starting to get on my father-mucking nerves. No, I don't hate her. It's not that. But she's trying to be willingly obtuse. And what I've noticed is that the anger or the hostility in which she's saying has started more so for me clarifying that what I've been saying to men lately is don't validate, don't approach, don't chase, don't pursue. Not in the West. It ain't worth it. And she's like, I'll never approach a man. And she's not the only one. I think I forgot, just something is her name. Just Beeb. Maybe it's her that said that. I apologize, Just Jules. Maybe it was Julie Jules. Maybe it was Just Beeb. One of those two said, and actually both of them seemed to take issue with the message. And I already told you all what an ex-feminist, one of my in-laws said about that. Don't tell them that. Are you out your mother cuss word mind? Even my own wife didn't want me to tell that, but when I explained that this is also about male chastity, she was like, well, okay, I can't knock that, because that's a religious message. Ain't nothing I can say about that. And she does not want to go against the law. I give her credit for that. But you see, this is how serious it gets, gentlemen. This is how real and how truthful this stuff gets. Don't approach her. Don't validate her. It is so important that we spread this. And I was saying, we need to tell the youth. Man, we need to tell the youth, but they're going to tell each other. We need to say this to people our own age. I'm in my 40s. We need to say this to the 30 and 40 and 50-year-old men. Stop. Because they love the attention, the option in turning you down, but they still hate even the approach. It's funny, do they love the approach or do they hate it? I mean, you need the approach in order for them to turn you down, but it doesn't really matter. See, Book of Alpharonomy rightly pointed out that they get these one-track minds and they don't want you stepping up and interrupting them and trying to shoot your shot. This lady's looking in the camera saying, no, don't do it. Don't shoot your shot. I'm doing something else. They got one-track minds. And when you get a one-track mind about them draws, even when y'all are in a relationship or even a marriage, all of a sudden, their minds are everywhere and they're so easily distracted by any and everything else because they know you about them draws. But then all of a sudden, they start multitasking. No, they can multitask, they can walk, they say they can multitask better than we, and they do. Or is it that they simply use multitasking to irritate the F out of us? Even in non-romantic relationships, like just being co-workers, I've seen them do that. Now, I want to know, actually, I don't even care. I take that back. I don't want to know. I don't feel a gup. Because if If the attention from any individual man is not enough, but they still want options and the ego boost, but they still are upset because they got interrupted by something they were thinking about or focusing on. If that is the case, I don't feel a gunk if they really are multitaskers or not. I don't care. They're only going to utilize it to our inconvenience, even when it makes things inconvenient for themselves in the long run. Gentlemen, I told you it's war, and you cannot romantically approach those who are at war with you. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.